We just want to get the building permit properly and without trouble. We aren't expecting any more.
They ordered everyone to leave the mosque and said they were going to permanently shut it down.
The earthquake that struck Myanmar on March 28th damaged more than 5,500 religious buildings, according to the junta. While the regime has issued permits to repair Buddhist monasteries, no such permissions have been granted for mosques, leaving many Muslim worshippers with no place to pray. Hello and welcome to Htet Aung, a weekly podcast about human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by Htet Aung journalist Htet Aung. Names and voices may have been changed to protect contributors. Bon O is a Muslim-majority village in Mandalay Region's Amarapura Township. Residents said the 7.7 magnitude earthquake on March 28th killed about 200 people and heavily damaged 4 mosques in the town. U Min Min U, who is around 45 years of age, is an executive member of East Mosque in Bon O. He was inside the mosque when the earthquake occurred, lightly damaging the building. This was followed 12 minutes later by the first aftershock, which measured 6.7.
During the earthquake, the middle mosque, where the women prayed, collapsed and women who were trapped inside were shouting for help. About 60 men were praying in the East Mosque, and we ran to help the women. During the rescue, I stepped outside to find a knife to cut some curtains that were blocking our efforts. At that time, the second earthquake struck, and more of the middle mosque collapsed right in front of me, trapping some of the rescuers inside with the women. I felt like Allah had saved me, but my heart broke for the people who were still inside.
Several mosques in Mandalay Region, Sagaing Region, and Naypyidaw collapsed or were heavily damaged by the quake. But this was just the beginning of the woes for the Muslims who prayed there. Htet Aung is the oldest mosque in Sagaing Region. It's located along the west bank of the Irrawaddy River in Sagaing Town. During the earthquake, the walls and ceiling partially collapsed. One man who was inside at the time later died of his injuries. Afterward, people continued to worship at the site by laying prayer mats on the floor of what was once the interior of the mosque. But 2 months later, on May 26th, the mosque was sealed off under the pretext that the building was encroaching on land belonging to the adjacent police station. U Thain So, age 70, has been attending services at Htet Aung Mosque his entire life.
4 policemen came to the mosque after the earthquake. They ordered everyone to leave the mosque and said they were going to permanently shut it down. They barricaded the door with a wooden bar from the outside and nailed zinc sheets over the door on the inside.
The land where Htet Aung Mosque was built was disputed even before the earthquake. The parcel was donated and the mosque was built in 1902 by Rahim Baksh, a Muslim police officer who had been given an award for bravery by the colonial viceroy of India in 1894. Then, in 1910, Baksh donated the parcel of land next to the mosque to build a police station. The mosque and the police station stood as neighbors for a century. But in 2010, an order was issued to move the mosque elsewhere after the police station next door applied for ownership of the land occupied by the mosque. The claim was that the mosque's administrators had failed to follow murky land laws requiring them to apply to the government land registry for ownership. Equally obscurely, the mosque was never notified that the police station had applied for ownership of the land until they were told to move. The mosque's administrators contacted the Sagaing regional government, which formed a committee to conduct an investigation. The process was ongoing when the earthquake occurred, and then the mosque was sealed off 2 weeks later.
The mosque is sacred to our religion. It's the house of Allah. There is no remedy for losing a house of worship. There are other Muslims who feel the same as me. This is religious land. We feel hurt because the house of Allah closed to us. We tried to keep it open, but we failed.
Meanwhile, Sagaing residents said applications for permits to rebuild the mosque were submitted to the Ministry of Religious Affairs and Culture in May and June, but there has been no answer since then. This is not unique to Sagaing. Locals in Mandalay region and Pyinmana Township in Naypyidaw also said that even though applications had been submitted for permits to rebuild damaged mosques, none of them had been granted yet. U Min Min U from Bon O said that after the mosque was damaged in the quake, people built thatched-roofed shelters in an open field to facilitate worship, but they are inadequate.
The roofs of the shelters are made of thatch and are not rainproof or soundproof. They can't accommodate many worshippers. We can't miss prayer services or change the time of the services, so we're continuing to worship the best way we can. Women have to worship at home, which makes me feel bad. I also feel bad because our situation is insecure.
In Pyinmana, an administrator of an earthquake-damaged mosque said they had to handle the repairs on their own with no support from the junta. Muslims said that a large number of mosques collapsed in the earthquake because for many years the government has not permitted maintenance or renovation work on the structures. When permits are granted, the junta stipulates that damaged structures be rebuilt without altering the original design. U Tun Tun Win, a mosque administrator, said they had applied for a permit to rebuild their mosque, but they wanted to rebuild it with a new design because attendance was much larger than it had been when it was originally built.
The land area it takes up is the same, but the new design differs from the original. It depends on the government's decision. We don't have any authority, so we can't do anything until they respond. We just want to get the building permit properly and without trouble. We aren't expecting any more. The best outcome would be for the authorities to come and see the building. That's all we can hope for.
U Thein So said he hoped the regime would allow them to repair and reopen the Getan Mosque because even though it's a small, unassuming building, it is part of Sagaing's heritage.
After the mosque was sealed off, we reported it to the higher authorities. They asked many questions, all of which we answered, but nothing is improving. It's disappointing. They have to give us a clear answer, but they haven't done so yet, so everyone is waiting for a sign of hope. The mosque has been here for almost 120 years. We hope the land will be returned to us so we can restore our heritage. Until then, it feels like we're stuck in a bad dream.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Htet Aung. We would welcome your feedback on social media, and please follow or subscribe to our pages. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fundación Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcasts via the Htet Aung Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and Telegram. Please tune in again next week.